Welcome you all to my class on HSC English. In today's class, I will explain lesson 1 of unit 5. Dear students, you can see the title of unit 5 is food adulteration, and the title of lesson 1 is food adulteration reaches new height. Basically, there are two lessons in Unit 5, and the first one is, in fact, it's the report published in the newspaper, and the report is on food adulteration. At the same time, the title of the lesson is Food Adulteration Reaches New Height. It's again, I said that it's the title of a report. Now, this report was published in a newspaper, and this report has been adapted over here as a reading skill passage. Now, this lesson is also important for various reasons. Firstly, it's a newspaper report, and for that reason, it has got the potentiality of being selected as a passage for reading skill test. That means, from this passage, the students can practice, multiple choice questions, question answers, summary obviously, and moreover, flow chart can also be done on this particular passage. Again, this passage is important because on this particular title, I mean food adulteration, we also select a paragraph. So for paragraph writing as well, this lesson is very important. So on this lesson, we will have two classes. Lesson 1, we will have two classes. In the first class, I will explain the lesson, and basically we will focus on the reading skill, multiple choice, question answers, vocabulary, and flowchart issues, not flowchart issues in the first class. In the second class, we will try to do that. And in the second class, our focus will be basically on paragraph writing, different types of paragraphs, the formation of paragraph, and to which class, food adulteration paragraph belongs. So these are the issues that we will discuss in the second class. So in the first class, as I said, that we will deal with the passage. So let's, dear students, go to the passage and start understanding the passage first. Okay, dear students, we are now starting the passage. I have already mentioned that we are starting unit 5, that means food adulteration, and lesson 1, food adulteration reaches new height. Now, as usual, we see some warm-up activity, that what is food adulteration. Now, naturally, when we start this unit, the question that comes first into our mind is, what is food adulteration? So warm-up activity means that you have to, the teachers will ask the students, and there will be a kind of, creating an atmosphere for so that the students feel comfortable, and so that the students can give up their hesitation. And so in this warm-up activity, the first question which is asked, and you can also now ask yourself right now, since we are in isolation or pandemic situation, you can ask yourself, what is food adulteration? Food adulteration is something, that will, it's a kind of process in which the foods are adulterated. That means different types of, chemicals or colors or other poisonous things are mixed with different types of food items. And there are many reasons, and we will discuss the reasons that why food items are adulterated, and in how many ways food items can be adulterated. So obviously there are some reasons behind this food adulteration, and there are some obvious impact as well of food adulteration. And just ask yourself that what might be the reasons food items are adulterated, and what might be the consequences of food adulteration. Now, have you heard the name of pesticide called formalin, which is used as a preservative? So formalin is a kind of, pesticide which is used for to preserve food for a long time. So formalin, it's a kind of, word that has been used, or that, which is very familiar to the people of Bangladesh, because formalin is used almost in every kind of food items, so starting from milk to fish, meat, fruits, and different types of items. And if you know apply formalin, or if a food item is treated with formalin, then it lasts for a longer time. But formalin has obviously got some
impact, of course negative impact on human body. So if you use formalin as a preservative, naturally it will have negative consequences on the health of human beings. Who do you think uses chemical pesticides on food and or fruits? Now, who are responsible for this? Because you know that food items, in most cases, food items are no, not most, every case. These items are produced by the farmers. I mean, the vegetables or even if you say meat or chicken, whatever you say. So the starting, I mean, the farming position or situation. So the farmers they can treat the fruits or food item with different types of chemicals because they want to preserve it for a long time, or they might want it to make it look more attractive to the customers. But it can even be done by wholesalers and businessmen. I mean, those businessmen who stock food or fruits and other items, they can also use pesticides, and it can also be done by retailers. I mean, who from whom you directly buy things in the market. So it can be done on in any stage, and so. Before going to the passage, we can gaze or we can develop an idea in our mind that what is food adulteration and what is formalin and what are other kinds of pesticides which are frequently used by people in food. And finally, you can also gaze or you can try to gaze that who are the people who apply or who treat food items with different types of pesticides or chemicals. So many questions are there. Why these insecticides, sorry, pesticides are used? Insecticides can also be used, and why these chemicals are used, and who are using these chemicals, and what might be the consequences of this, formalin treated or chemicals treated food item. Now we are starting the passage. I have already mentioned that this passage is basically it's a report published in the daily newspaper, focusing on, the condition of food adulteration in Bangladesh. So this report will give you an idea about the condition of food adulteration, about the limit, the extent of food adulteration, the gravity of food adulteration in Bangladesh, and you will notice, you will be stunned, you will be surprised to see that how much adulterated food items you are consuming almost every day. And what can be the result, what can be the impact of this food intake. Unsafe levels of pesticides are present in around half of the vegetables and more than a quarter of fruits sold in the capital's market, a recent survey has found. I have already said that it's a newspaper report. And this newspaper report has been included as the first lesson of Unit 5 in your textbook. To give you an idea, I have already said about food adulteration. And what does the first line say? Since it's a newspaper report, so the English will also sound like newspaper English naturally. So unsafe levels of pesticides. So the first phrase is unsafe levels of pesticides are found or present in around half of the vegetables. So a survey was conducted in different markets of capital, I mean Dhaka. And what we observe, what is the finding? What are the findings of that survey? The findings of the survey, at first what we see that almost in 50% vegetables, the report says that pesticides are present almost in 50% of the vegetables that were taken as sample for the study, and more than a quarter of fruits sold in capital's market, and above 25% fruits were also contaminated with pesticides. So the survey was conducted in the market of capital, I mean Dhaka city, and we have noticed, we observed that 50% vegetables are contaminated with pesticides and treated with pesticides, and more than 25% fruits are also contaminated or treated with pesticides. So that is a grave situation. That is really an alarming situation that this news offers, this report offers. A recent survey has found, when this survey was made, or when this was published in the newspaper, a 15-member team of the National Food Safety Laboratory, with support from the Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO), came up with the findings after collecting and testing food samples from the capital's Gulshan, Karwan Bazar, and Mohakhali markets. So, who conducted this? A 15-member team of the National Food Safety Laboratory. So, a 15-member team, the members were present when this report was being formulated. They took support from Food and Agricultural Organization, international organization, and it has got branches in different countries. So they took help from Food and Agricultural Organization, and they came up with the findings. That means after conducting the survey and after making the data analysis, they got the findings. And what about the findings? Collecting and testing food samples from, we have already got some ideas about the findings. And now the passage says, the report says that how it got the findings, how the findings were made. The findings were made maintaining a genuine research methodology. And we noticed that the research or the survey was conducted on different markets of Dhaka city, not on a particular market, because the situation can be good, very good in a particular market. The situation can be very bad in a particular market. So when samples are collected for any survey or any research, samples have to be collected from different areas. There is methodology for research. There is methodology for survey. So what happens here that the samples were collected from different markets of Dhaka city, and after collecting the samples, the research was conducted, and we have already got some glimpses of the results. The alarming results the report offers. The survey report, a copy of which was acquired by the Dhaka Tribune, so it was published in Dhaka Tribune. So a copy of the report, that means of the research or of the study, was acquired by Dhaka Tribune, read that nearly 40% of 82 samples of milk, and just look at the findings, 40% of 82 samples of milk products, fish, fruits and vegetables contain banned pesticides such as DDT, aldrin, chlordane, and heptachlor. Now, can you guess the situation? It's so much alarming that you can't simply imagine that 82 samples were collected, and these samples included milk products, dairy products, fish, fruits, vegetables, so different types of food items. And 82 samples were collected on these different types of food items. And 40%, around or almost 40% of those 82 samples were found to be contaminated with banned pesticides. And what kind of pesticides? It's almost like poison pesticides that are used in order to, protect, vegetables, fruits and fish from different types of insects and pests. But there is a limit. There is a limit, permitted limit. There is a limit, suggested limit, advised limit by different international organizations that work on food safety and consumers' rights. Now, DDT, aldrin, chlordane, and heptachlor, all these are highly toxic chemicals, and pesticides, and these are present almost in 40% of the samples. The amounts of pesticide, we all know that pesticide is present in all sorts of food items, but there is a limit, I am telling you repeatedly. And this limit is set by different international organizations who work on consumers' rights and the health of people. And what the report says, that these pesticides were found to be 3 to 20 times greater than the limits set by the European Union. European Union has set a limit, you know, for the use of pesticides. But what we see in the markets of Dhaka city, that around 40% samples collected are samples of milk products, fish, fruits and vegetables. They contain 3 to 20 times greater, you know, quantity of those poisonous and or toxic chemicals set by the European Union. So there is a limit of using the pesticide, but the salesman or the farmers or the wholesalers or the retailers or all of them, they are treating the different food items with pesticides and at such a level which is not granted by any international organization. It's 3 to 20 times. Just gaze, just imagine that what kind of violation of law it is. That it's a kind of crime against consumers. Around 50% vegetables and 35% fruits were found to be contaminated with unsafe level of pesticides. And in case of vegetables and fruits, it's dangerous. The findings, are dangerous and alarming because around 50% vegetables and 35% fruits were found to be contaminated with unsafe level of pesticides. Analyzing more than 30 samples of turmeric powder, so you know what is turmeric powder, and not only that, you can question that, well, branded turmeric powder, what about the branded turmeric powder? So look at the bracket, branded, packaged and open. So all types of samples, different types of samples of turmeric powder were collected, and some samples were branded of different famous familiar companies of Bangladesh, packaged products and open turmeric powder. So all three types of turmeric powders, I mean the three ways they are available in the market, they were collected, and what we see, the team also found that nearly 30% of the samples contain traces of lead chromate. So 30% turmeric powder, whether they are branded, packaged or open, they contain lead chromate, which can be fatal if swallowed or inhaled. So lead chromate is a kind of thing, or it's a kind of particle which is, if it is swallowed or inhaled by human beings, it can be detrimental to the person. And these samples also contain lead to 20 to 50 times above the safety limit of 2.5 parts per million set by the Bangladesh Standard Testing Institute, BSTI. So you often see this impression of BSTI on different products. So BSTI permitted, it shows it's red, BSTI permitted. So the limit set by BSTI is 2.5 parts per million in case of lead. But what we observe in turmeric powder, 20 to 50 times above the safety limit of lead chromate. So it's unimaginable. It's simply unimaginable. So 2.5 parts, now if you multiply it with 50, so the kind of figure you will get, this is simply alarming. And so what kind of violation you can simply imagine. So 20 to 50 times above the safety limit of 2.5 parts. Now arsenic and chromium above safety limits were detected in a total of 5 out of 13 rice samples. So not only that, if you take the examples of rice, if you think that rice is okay, fine, no. Still, what you will find in rice, you will see arsenic, the presence of arsenic and chromium above the safety limits, and 5 out of 13 rice samples, they contain either arsenic or chromium above the safety limit. Using a sensitive high-performance liquid chromatography method developed by the Food Safety Lab, 66 samples were analyzed for the presence of formaldehyde. So it's a kind of test, chromatography test, developed by Food Safety Lab. 66 samples were analyzed for the presence of formaldehyde. These samples were analyzed whether formaldehyde or formalin was present in those samples or not. So what about the results? What about the findings? Adulteration was thereby detected in samples of coriander, mango, fresh shrimps. So adulteration is everywhere. And what you see that even in fresh shrimps, we notice adulteration and formalin basically. So formalin is present in coriander, formalin is present in mango, formalin is present in fresh shrimps. So all sorts of items, formalin is present in all sorts of items. So already by this time, what we have observed in this report that the condition of really horrible in the market, and there is not a single item which is not treated with pesticide or toxic chemicals. The tests indicated that poultry feed in the country had also been contaminated. So this is again dangerous. That poultry feed, I mean feed which is used for poultry, I mean uh, chicken and other poultry animals, as samples of chicken and fish contain traces of antibiotics. So antibiotic is administered in the chicken and fish, but when this chicken or these fishes are processed and being made ready for consumption, even then they contain the presence of antibiotics. High microbial populations were found in, so what we noticed that in poultry feed, I mean in chicken and fish, they may be, the fishes are alive. They swim in the water, in the market. And we think that these are so fresh, but every fish, is treated with or is enriched with antibiotics. And if you continuously consume this sort of fish and, chicken, then one day your antibiotics will not work in your body because, the bacteria will be familiar with the antibiotics. And this continuous intake of antibiotic will definitely lose its significance and its effectiveness. High microbial populations were found in several samples of pasteurized milk. So you know what is pasteurized milk? That it's there is a kind of heat which is given, and after that it's suddenly made cold. So it's a kind of process, a scientific process by means of which the milk is made pure. Still, microbial populations, that means bacteria, were found in pasteurized milk, indicating poor processing procedures by the manufacturers. So what does it indicate? It indicates that people who are involved in the manufacturing of these dairy products or milk, they are not doing it properly. Samples of cucumber and street foods also showed high microbial populations. So samples of cucumber and street foods. Street foods will obviously show the presence of microbial populations. So cucumber, street foods, they also show the presence of microbial populations. That means bacteria, suggesting widespread contamination in the water supply. So what does it suggest? It suggests that when the street foods are contaminated, so it suggests that there is problem in the water supply. The director of Institute of Public Health told the Dhaka Tribune that the survey report has been submitted to the Health Ministry. And what about the director of Institute of Public Health? It claims that the report, or I mean the report that was published in this newspaper, and the report we are reading now, This report has been submitted to the Health Ministry. Further tests of different products were being carried out at the Food Safety Lab, and further, tests were being carried out, were being under process. And now, a former Director General of the Health Services and Senior National Advisor of the FAO said the findings were shocking for the whole nation. We also know that the findings are shocking for the whole nation. But what are the remedies? He added that instead of focusing only on the end products, so this is important. He said that focusing or giving emphasis only on the end products, the issue should be addressed at the root level. So there must be a kind of surveillance starting from the root level. And what it does basically do, we see people, thronging, the people who enforce laws or law enforcing agencies, we see them on the, in the market, and the final product, they go for the final product, they test the final products, so end products. So what is the benefit of, increasing surveillance only on the end products? Because it may start from the beginning. It may start from the primary level. By primary level, I want to mean farming. From there it can start. Pointing out that there are 4 steps in the production process. So there are 4 steps. Look at the process. Farmer who is involved in farming, and the farmer may use different types of pesticides, formalin, or preservatives, so that or chemicals that may make the products appear or more appealing, or may attract the customers. So that's what the farmers may think. And after farmer, then comes the transport. So goods are basically carried from villages or rural areas to the cities. So it may take 1 day, 2 days, or several days even in some cases. So they will get rotten. If they are fresh vegetables, they will get rotten. And that's why what happens, the people who are involved in transport or business in this sector, they may administer different types of chemicals. Then it goes to the wholesalers, and the wholesalers, they think that my goods cannot be sold in a single day. So they may also apply or administer, these sorts of pesticides. And then comes to the retail trader. He or they will think that, well, if I cannot sell my products in a single day, so I will incur some loss. So it's better to use some chemicals again. So if chemicals or pesticides or toxic chemicals or formalin are used in all 4 stages, so you can guess that only the adulteration remains, not the product. So he said better monitoring and supervision were mandatory for stopping food adulteration. So it is his, suggestion. So we also know that better monitoring and is necessary. Supervision is also necessary for stopping food adulteration. So we all know that. Adulterated food products are reportedly the cause behind thousands of people suffering from fatal diseases. Now, these are the impacts. So far, we have seen the level of adulteration, the causes of adulteration, the different stages where the adulteration is made. Now we see the impact of adulteration. Adulterated food products are reportedly the cause behind thousands of people suffering from fatal diseases like cancer, kidney failure, and heart problems. So, food adulteration may lead to different fatal diseases like cancer, kidney failure, and heart problems. Health specialists told the Dhaka Tribune that the Ministry of Food had enacted a Food Safety Act but was yet to prepare the necessary rules. So, what we see, the act has been formulated, but the rules have not yet been formulated. So, we hope that the rules will be formulated. So, mere act will not work unless there are rules to take punitive measures for the perpetrators or for the people who are involved in crime. And we must say that it's a crime against consumers. So rules must be there. Rules must be formulated so that we can try the criminals. As the issue of food safety was also linked to 14 other ministries, but this is one more problem, that the issue of food safety is linked with 14 ministries other than food ministry. So law ministry is involved, administration is involved, police is involved, agriculture is involved, transport is involved. So there are different types of ministries which are involved in ensuring food safety. So a coordinated agency should take responsibility of ensuring safety in food products. So what we need? We need a coordinated effort in order to ensure food safety for the consumers. So this is very much necessary. So what we have noticed so far, we have just finished the passage, that it's the responsibility of 15 ministries. So if there is a coordination among these 15 ministries, then we can ensure safety, safe food for the consumers. So that this passage basically deals with the kind of pesticides, the kind of toxic chemicals that are being used by people to either preserve food for a long time or to make food more appealing and attractive, or to make more profits. There might be many reasons. There might be many reasons, but the reasons are very important. That the question is, why are these toxic chemicals or pesticides are used in food items? So those reasons are very important, and we have already discussed those reasons. And you have to also try to understand the reasons, because in our next class I said that we will deal with paragraph. And secondly, we also see the kind of items we have already seen, the kind of the examples of different types of pesticides. And then we see in different stages this adulteration may take place. And after that, we also see that what about the situation of food adulteration. We also see that what measures can be taken to stop food adulteration, and what we have also seen that what are the impacts of food adulteration. So it's a great issue. It's an issue that demands more attention from every corner of the society, and we hope to see some improvement and development in this issue later. Now let's try to practice some multiple choice, though it's very easy. What percentages of milk samples contain pesticides? So you have noticed. So let's go back. That what percentages? So what are the how you will answer multiple choice questions? You will have some questions, and you have to read the passage. And after reading the passage, you have to look at these questions, and where you have to try to find out the answer. So what percentages of milk samples contain pesticides? Now let's go back. What kind of what is the percentage? So at the beginning, what you see that 40% of 82 samples of milk products. So what is the percentage? 40%. And what of the percentage of vegetables? 50%. Fruits, 35%. So the answer is 40%. This is how you have to find out the answer. Now let's go to the next one. How did the scientists realize that the water supply was contaminated? Because of microbial presence, for the color of the water, from an analysis of the mineral content, through chemical test. So how will you know? How did the scientists realize that the water supply was contaminated? Can you see it? Can you see it? What we have seen, that microbial presence, that was according to the passage, that the passage says that there is the presence of bacteria. So other answers may seem to be very close, but you have to follow the passage. You must follow the passage. What the passage says, that is the answer. So we have noticed that the presence of microbial population is the answer. Why were microbial populations present in pasteurized milk? Because of widespread contamination in the water cows drink, we have not seen it. Because of the formaldehyde content in the milk, we have not seen it. Because of poor processing of the milk, or all of the above. Now, The question is, because of widespread contamination in the water cows drink, we have not seen it in the passage. It may be true, but we have not seen it. Because of the formaldehyde content in the milk, we have not seen it. What we have noticed in the passage, that the poor processing of milk, that is the reason. So that should be the answer. Answer is because of poor processing of the milk. The amounts of pesticide in local food samples is times greater than the limits set by the European, you know, uh, Union. So what was the limit? Let's go back. What was the limit? Now, if you read the passage, you will see the limit. The limit was, lead commit 20 content lead at 20 to 50 times about the safety limit, but this is about, the vegetables. Look at here, 3 to 20 times greater than the limit set by the European Union. So the answer is 3 to 20 times. Why am I going back to these pages? Just to make you understand that this is how you have to look for the answer. So it was 3 to 20 times, number 3. Number E, how many ministries are concerned with the food safety issue? Can you remember that 14 other ministries. So apart from food ministry, 14 other ministries. So in total, it is 15 ministries. So the answer is 15. Now, there are some questions. You just try. You may just give a try to these questions. And the questions are, what does new height refer to in this title of the news report? So, new height means the extent, the level to which food adulteration has reached. So, new height means that the level of, food adulteration, the limit of food adulteration. What confirms that even our poultry products are contaminated? Because we see the presence of antibiotics in even the poultry products. So that makes it clear that there is contamination. Uh, what are the health risks related to adulterated foods? We have already discussed that it can lead to different types of fatal diseases like cancer, kidney failure, heart attack, and there are other issues as well. What is the current state of Food Safety Act? What about the current state? So there is the Food Safety Act, but rules have not yet been formulated, and that's why we cannot implement the act. So these are the kind of questions which are important for this passage. So dear students, what we will do in our next class, that I will discuss a paragraph, and I will again discuss that how we can write a paragraph on food adulteration, and when I will explain the ways to, or the style to write a paragraph on food adulteration. At the same time, I will just focus on some basic principles of structure of paragraph and types of paragraph. Not that much. I mean, I will just explain which is necessary for the students of HSC level. I will not go to that much details, but it is also necessary for you to understand, because in second paper, when you will read second paper, you will notice that sometimes the students are asked to follow a particular style of paragraph. So that is why the formation of paragraph, or I mean the structure of paragraph, is important, and the types of paragraph is also important, and we will practice paragraph, and if I get time, I will also make you practice flowchart as well in my next class. So till then, goodbye, stay safe. Thank you very much.